Hi there, welcome to Long Distance Review, and on this week's episode I'm going to look at the new album from Fear Factory entitled Aggression Continuum. I'll start with a little bit of history behind Fear Factory and all the dramas involved. I won't go into all the dramas involved because I haven't got all day. I've never known a band like it where there's that much drama behind the scenes. But I think it's important to the background of this album to have a little look at it. The band itself were formed way back in 1989, originally called Ulceration. They changed their name to Fear Factory in 1990 and went on to release their first album proper in 1992 entitled Soul of a New Machine. At this point in time they had a much more death metal sound to them, I think, and they didn't have that industrial cyber metal that came in later. The band went on to release Demanufacture in 1995, which made them the big stars in metal that they became, and it's a classic album. It's a pioneering album of its genre, introducing synthesizers. It was one of the first albums to introduce the cleans and aggressive vocals against each other. It had much more an industrial cyber metal sound, and it's a brilliant album. Still 25 years old, brilliant album. At this point in time, they had the stable lineup of Dino Cazares, Raymond Herrera, Christian Olber-Volbers, and Burton C Bell. And this classic lineup went on to record Obsolete in 1998, which was another brilliant album, but it had much more of a cinematic feel to it, I felt, carrying on the man versus machine concept that they did throughout their career. The lineup then went on in 2001 to record Digimortal, which had a bit more of a new metal influence and wasn't as great, still okay. But the band then went split up after that album. And this rift started between Dino Cazares on one side and Christian Olber-Volbers, Raymond Herrera and Burton C Bell on the other side. And basically then the three, Bell, Herrera and Volbers, got back together and said, we're going to do Fear Factory without Dino, and came back and did Archetype in 2004, which was another really, really good album actually. I thought it was a decent album considering Dino's not in the band. And then rushed out an album called Transgression in 2005, which was underproduced and poorly written, had a lot more of an alt-rock flavour to it. It's probably the worst Fear Factory album. So after that came out, they went on a bit of a hiatus. Burton C Bell went on to do Ascension of the Watchers, Ministry. You had Herrera and Volbers going to do Archaea. No one really knew what was going to happen, and all of a sudden, without knowledge from Herrera and Volbers, Bell and Cazares rekindled their relationship and got back together and said, nah, we're Fear Factory nowadays, we're going to carry on. And Herrera and Volbers went, no, we're Fear Factory, what are you doing? You can't have that name. And that's where it all started. And then Bell and Cazares, under Fear Factory, went on to release Mechanize in 2010, which was a brilliant album, really, really good album, one of my favourite Fear Factory albums. That lineup then did Industrialist in 2012, which again was okay, and went on for their last album before this, do Genexus in 2015. Again, another decent enough album. And then from 2016 onwards, nowadays, to present day basically, there's been nothing but lawsuits and drama on one side of Herrera and Volbers, and Bell and Cazares on the other-ish side, let's say. One going, no, we're Fear Factory, the other going, no, we're Fear Factory, and it all went to court and lawsuits, bankruptcy. You can read all about it online. The legal papers are online if you want to get really into it. The outcome was Dino Cazares came out and he won the rights to the name Fear Factory, so he is Fear Factory. And he went, oh, let's carry on then. And Burton C Bell went, no, I'm going to leave, bollocks to all this. I don't trust you anymore. This is a nightmare. I'm out of here. So off he went. In the middle of it all, they'd actually recorded some tracks in 2017. You can go back. Burton actually put out that the new album's coming out soon. It's called Monolith. That was like 4 years ago. So what do we have now? At the moment, we've got Dino Cazares doing guitar and bass on this album, but that's not a problem. He did all the guitar and bass on the classic album Demanufacture and on Mechanize. He is the sound of Fear Factory. That staccato riff patterns, that machine-like sound, that's Dino Cazares. And we have Bell's vocals on this album. As I said, they recorded these tracks back in 2017. And we have Mike Heller on drums, who has been in the band for a while now. And on touring guitars, you'll have Tony Campos again, who's been touring with them for a while and recording on Genexus. So that's where we are really with the band and this album. So there we go. Dino got hold of the songs, those ones that they recorded in 2017, and he went, right, I'm going to remaster them, reproduce them, put some live drums on them, and then we'll release them. And that's what this album is, Aggression Continuum. So let's get on with the album. Opens up with the song Recode, which has that obsolete cinematic feel to it. The man versus machine intro really sounds great. It's a tried and tested formula what Fear Factory have. They haven't done anything new that isn't Fear Factory. It sounds like Fear Factory. That Dino frantic riff patterns, those bells, aggressive vocals and gothic cleans. It's nothing new, but it really works on Recode. I think Recode's a really, really good song. The chorus really pops on it. I love it. First single, Disruptor, comes next. I like the bouncy riff to it. Not keen on the chorus. I think Bell comes across quite weak on the chorus. They push his vocals way back in the mix and cover it with synths a little bit. It sounds a bit wet and overproduced a little bit in the chorus. Is it a thing they're trying to do? Push Burton's cleans back? I don't know. The title track next actually is one of the really highlights of the album. I like how it's manic and frenetic. Mike Heller's drums really stand out on that track. So far so good. Actually, a really solid Fear Factory start to the album. You get a song called Purity that comes in. It's got a sort of riff that reminds me of a bit of Linchpin. And again, Bell's vocals on the chorus come in a bit weak. I don't like this song that much. I think the vocals do come across a bit soft and weak in the middle. And they've done that before. I mean, it's not a new thing that Fear Factory do. They have the aggressive verses and the clean choruses. And in the clean choruses, they bring the synths in. But Bell's vocal used to soar on those choruses, like Resurrection, songs like that. And he used to have that cinematic feel to it. Sometimes it just sounds a bit distant and isolated and a bit weak, and it doesn't work. Only on a couple of songs here, this one in particular, I don't think it works out well. This album actually works really, really well when it's heavy, pissed off and angry, and for 90% of this album, that's what it is. Songs like Fuel Injected Suicide Machine and Collapse, both those songs are just concrete, heavy slabs of Fear Factory, and they work brilliantly on this album. This is quite a long album. At 48 minutes in length, this is a long, long album. For Fear Factory, it's a long album. Especially when you've only got one trick, basically, one formula that you're following. It's quite a long album. I don't think it's too long. I think it just about works well enough. I think it just about holds the listener's attention. And yeah, but could have shaved off a few minutes here and there, maybe. Overall, Bert actually sounds pretty good on this album. I know there's a lot of studio trickery involved. I've seen them live. I know how bad his voice can be live. When I saw him last time, he was singing over a backing track. That's the point that it got to. And you only need to go back on Dino Cazares' Twitter account to see that he mentioned a few times there were songs they couldn't do because Bert's vocals were shot. All these kind of things. In the studio, he can sound great because you've got all the wizardry in front of you to make him sound great. The rhythm section sounds excellent though. Take a song like Manufactured Hope. I think it sounds vicious. I think that machine sound, that precise machine sound between Cazares and Heller really sounds excellent on a song like that. I have minor gripes. I think the synths can be over-reliant on the synthesizers at time and a bit formulaic. And here come the synths again. Here come the synths over the cleans. It would be nice if they changed that up a little bit. I thought at times Bell's clean vocals, especially on a song like Cognitive Dissonance, where his vocals now sound very robotic. And I don't know if it's a song, that's the sound they wanted, because they can do that, Fear Factory, they have that machine element to them, or it's just that's the only way they could make Bell's vocals sound good. I think it's just too much on that, too overproduced. And it is too long probably, but they're only minor gripes. Saying it's too long, actually towards the end it gets really good. There's a song called Monolith I thought was excellent, and they use Bell's vocals brilliantly in that. The first verse, his voice sounds organic and pushed up to the front of the mix. He isn't straining his cleans, it's just a nice organic sound to his voice. And I think that song with its mellower tones, it's expertly paced, that song. I think it's a really highlight of the album. And it has that rare Dino Cazares solo that you don't get often in Fear Factory. The last song, End of the Line, is thankfully not one of those wet ballady closers that could happen. It actually retains that pissed off and angry vibe the album's going for. And I think that works really well. Too long at the end, they could shave a couple of minutes off that instrumental. But yeah. Overall, I think it's a really, really solid, really aggressive, good Fear Factory album. And it's such a shame that there's all this drama behind it, because if you didn't know, you'd just think this is a band firing on all cylinders, sounding really energetic and vital. But behind the scenes, we all know that it's not. But if this is the last time Dino and Bert are on tape, brilliant. It sounds excellent. It sounds a good final time they do it together. We all know now that Dino's looking for a new vocalist, and what will happen, who knows. In my opinion, they'll probably all get back together in 5 years' time, the classic demanufacture lineup, and do something. But who knows? Who knows? They could just sue each other all over again. Anyway, that's my view on Aggression Continuum. Decent, solid, better than Genexus, better than Industrialist, a good mid to high tier Fear Factory album. Let me know what you think of it, and I'll be back soon with another review. Thanks very much for watching.